I've started work on the dash, recovering it. What I did I had two dashes, one in reasonably good nick. This other one was very badly cracked. It was in the last video. So I stripped all the rubber off, all this sort of stuff. And I've just started putting down some high density foam and shaping it. I've kept these bigger pieces that go on to measure thickness because I want to try and retain some of the originality, or the original shape. So I'm using those as sort of a bit of a template. The thing is that when I stripped all this off, the metal underneath was like it was done on day one. It was absolutely perfect. There were some rust spots, but only from where the cracks were and underneath it where the metal was exposed. And it looked like brand new. And of course, I left it for a few days and it was like it made up for lost time for the last 50 years and rusted over, like had a thin film of rust right over it. So if you're doing this, treat it straight away. So what I did is I got the phosphate treatment and sanded it all back and treated it, and yeah, it should be good for another 50. So but it was quite a yucky job getting all that rubbish off it. It took a few hours to get it all cleaned up, but yeah, so I'll just use this. I've got a few different thicknesses of this foam, and I'm just going to slowly build it up. It sands quite easily, so as you can see here, because it's got lots of little divots here and there, you got to try and fill, otherwise it's going to come through. So yeah, it sands quite easily, and what I'm using to glue it down is this Clark rubber spray glue, which I was assured that it would work really well. $42 a can, which sort of sent off a nervous tick in my face, but I gotta say it's worth every cent. I've used quick grip and other sorts of types of contact adhesive before, and while they're okay, this stuff is fantastic. Definitely worth the money. If you're trying this sort of stuff, works really well, extremely well. So definitely worth every cent. The other thing I'm looking at is on the dash fascia itself. I've never liked the join between here and the dash itself. Let's sort of see if I can do this with one hand. Where this part joins on, to here, there's always there's always a nasty gap, and they never seem to fit particularly well. So the idea I'm playing with is to actually cut this off the plastic dash and then join it onto the metal permanently, and then be able to cover it all the way down. So that bit will be on the end of this, and recover it in one piece. Now, I really don't like cutting up an original dash, but this one, like I said in the last video, it's had repairs, it's had a lot of minor work, and just recently I've decided I'm going to sand this finish off and make it a flat finish like the XA dashes. I'm not real, I prefer the XA look, the smooth look. So I thought if I'm going to do that, there's no drama cutting it up. So I haven't figured out how I'm going to do it exactly yet, but yeah, I'm going to have to be extremely careful and to try and get the fit and everything just right. But that's where I'm up to on that. So where I'm up to on the glove box side, I've been working on this. What I've done is I've stripped the glove box lid right down and I've tacked it in, a couple of tack welds, the glove box in, and then I've filled the gaps because this is a door that opens for your glove box, and I want this one piece of carbon. So I've just filled it in. I'm just working on it at the moment, getting it nice and smooth, because I'm going to use that as a plug for the mold for carbon. It's by rights you should use make a mold of it and then use that mold to do your carbon. But I think I can get away with just using it as a plug like I've done before with the spoiler and the scoop, and just laying carbon over it and popping it off. It'll be just a pinch little bit bigger by 1 millimeter, but if my measurements are correct, I don't think that's going to affect anything. And yeah, I think it'll come up okay. Doing it this way gives me a lot more control of the finished look, rather than putting it in a mold. It's not the perfect way of doing it, but for what I want, I think it'll work extremely well. So we'll see. Well, I've sort of mocked up the dash so I could just get where this foam goes and ends. I've started gluing the foam down. The clamps, it didn't really need the clamps. It sticks really well, but just for a little bit of insurance, I put clamps there. This purple stuff is actually like floor mats you can buy. It's a little bit stiffer and it sands easily, and it's just a little bit easier to get the shape. I had to lay some along here because there was like a bevel here, and on the original dash it's like a corner, so it sort of just chops off there. So that'll all be sanded back. The purple stuff will all be sanded back, and then I'll get a layer, and I've got this other stuff here, 6mm and 12mm, which I will use on top of the purple stuff to build it up and get the right shape. It's a little bit softer, that stuff. I'm sort of aiming for a stock look. The only modifications I'm making is I've made this come out more. The dash usually ends here, and to get that sort of like more of a fighter jet sort of, I don't know, wraparound effect, I've extended that out. It won't be all that way out. It'll probably go to where that grey is, and I'll just trim it back. But that's where I'm at now. This is usually flush with the dash, so I mean the surround. So I've brought it out to about here. So I'll shape that. Just like I said, I'm after the standard shape, but I'll probably enhance these bits and pieces. So at first appearance it looks stock, but it'll have a slight twist. So yeah, it's so far so good. It's come along all right. I mentioned previously that I was going to try and join these bits to this bit and have it flow down, but looking at it, same with this is actually plastic and it's part of the fascia, and it was just going to be a little bit sketchy. They would flap around a fair bit and I'd have to put up bodgy brackets and whatnot. There was nowhere really to screw it into. It was a little bit, I don't know, it just didn't sit well with me, that it was going to be a little bit flimsy and I was going to run into trouble further down the line. So I've kept that. I'll probably continue this foam and shape it onto this and cover this in leather. So I've been practicing. This is my first practice sew of leather. As you can see, it's pretty shit, but I'm refining it. This is the sort of stitching I'm after, but it's crooked as shit. I will get better. Like I said, that was my very first go at sewing on a sewing machine at all. So reasonably happy with how that's going. I got a little bit more practice to do, but yeah, it should come up all right. We'll see. Okay, well, I've made the dash up in the foam, covered it all in the high density foam, and shaped it just a rough shape, covered in leather. That's the plan later. Where I've modified it, you can see I've brought this edge out a bit further, and I've got to build these up as well. This section I'll be making in carbon. I've kept the rough architecture of the dash the same, but just modified this edge to come out a bit further, just for a bit of a extra wrap around. And yeah, I've kept this was in the standard dash. You can see there's a standard dash there. So all I've really done is just enhanced the shape a bit and just give it a bit more of a wraparound feel. Again, you can see I'll have to build this up. This section will all be carbon. That's the plan. So yeah, the problem I'm trying to sort out now was, because I was going to cover this in leather, and I've got an old leather lounge. I wanted a bit of a rustic leather look for it, but the pieces of leather I've got, this is the longest length I can get, and as you can see, it won't wrap around the edges here. And on this section, it's the same. I'm missing, oh dear, I'm missing a bit here. So, having said that, the leather doesn't like to go in multiple directions, so I might have to put in extra stitch lines down here, down here. So I'll have to sort it out. But yeah, pretty happy. This is not rocket science-ish stuff. It's something I've never really done before, but it's quite simple. You just got to really take your time and calculate your measure, and make sure all the stuff you're putting on is oversized, so you've got plenty to work with, because it does tend to move around. And then once it's on, you can trim it up and sand it. It sands quite easily, and it's quite nice. But yeah, obviously a professional will probably do this in a few hours. It took me days, but yeah, pretty happy. Alright guys, I'll wrap this video up. I'll try and keep the videos short. There's still a lot more work. I'll do the carbon and everything in the next video, whether I get it covered or not. I'm going to leave the covering now. I've still got a bit of refinement on the shape, but I'll wait until I get the leather made up. I know I can get bigger pieces of leather, but I really wanted the leather on the dash to have a bit more of an aged, rustic feel. Somebody suggested going kangaroo hide, which was a great idea, but the kangaroo hide is, you can only get small pelts. They're only about like 600 millimeters long, which is still not going to give me the complete lengths I really need. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to try and use this and just suck it and see if it's, I'm going to be happy with it. I didn't want lots of patches, but my philosophy is if you've got a problem, rather than trying to hide it, make it a feature. So I'll work on that. And yeah, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. It's been great. I'll try and punch out these videos a bit more regularly, and like I said, try and keep them a little shorter. I try and keep them under 15 minutes, although this one's probably already gone over. So yeah, thanks a lot, guys.